Welcome to my channel, Biology All in One. If you are watching my video for the first time, please do subscribe and ring the bell icon. Thank you. Here, we are discussing the second unit of 8th SSC, Cell, the basic unit of life. Up to now, you didn't hear this word cell. Means maybe you heard, but it is very unfamiliar to you. Here, in this chapter, you are going to understand that who discovered the cell and how they discovered the cell and what is the nucleus and what are the different kinds of the cell organelles present, who did the inventions and discoveries upon the cell. Everything you are going to understand in a very clear manner in this chapter. You have a look. Here, we are going to know first of all, the cell is the basic unit of life. Why the cell is known as the basic unit of life? If you see here, without the cell, no living organism on this earth is there. No living organism is there without the cells. That's the reason we call for every organism, cell is the basic unit. For example, if you observe the house, if you observe a building is made up of all the bricks. Different kinds of the bricks generally used to construct a house. But what is happening? We cannot understand that how many bricks they used when we observe. Likewise, our body is also totally made up of cells. A cell is like a brick to a building. Understand? See, the cells, depending upon the cell structure and functions, depending upon the number of cells, the organisms are differentiated into two types. They are unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. Here if you observe, unicellular means the organism which have only the single cell to perform all the functions. Single cell is present in these kinds of organisms. That's the reason we call such kinds of the organisms as unicellular organisms. The examples of the unicellular organisms are amoeba, paramecium, euglena, and many other. Here, if you observe the multicellular organisms, the multicellular organisms are having many number of cells. Means the organism is made up of many number of cells. How it is there? How it was present? For example, if you observe the unicellular organisms, in these unicellular organisms, only single cell performs all the functions like ingestion, digestion, excretion, next assimilation. All these are happening only in one cell. If you observe the multicellular organisms, here cells are developed to tissues. Tissues develops to organs. Organs develops to organ system. Organ system develops to organism. Okay, organisms to the population. Here, what we understand, the cell is the basic unit of life that we understand very easily by seeing this. See, the cells which are similar in structure and perform similar function will develop into tissues. Tissues which are similar in structure and similar in function forms together and develops into an organ. Organ develops into organ system. Organ systems develops into an organism. Organisms to the population. That's the reason we call the cell is the basic unit of life. See, here actually the cells are microscopic. We cannot observe the cells with our naked eye. So, actually, when you observe these microscopic organisms, now we can understand these are cells, these are tissues. Likewise, the cells are rapidly happening by rapid cell division. The cells are developed into tissues, tissues to organs, organs to organ system, organ system to the organism. Now we are able to understand very clearly. But actually, the microscopic organisms means the organisms which we cannot see with our naked eye, They don't know. Before of 350 years ago, no one knows the microbial world. Means the world which is under the microscope. There are different kinds of the microorganisms are present on this earth. Not only the microorganisms, how the cells are present, and all those are microscopic. We cannot see with our naked eye. Those are unknown to everyone and unknown by everyone. So what happened? Who did the first observation? Who observed for the first time? If you observe, there are different kinds of the scientists who worked for the microbiology. Means the organisms which are under the microscope. The study of organisms which are under the microscope is known as microbiology. See here, Athanasius Kircher is the scientist, was born in the year 1601 and expired in the year 1680. He is a German. He belongs to the German. He is a priest. So he did the observation. Of the microorganisms. He did different kinds of the inventions also. See, he did great contribution to the microbiology. See, he observed the microorganisms. He observed protozoa, he observed bacteria, and he observed yeast, different kinds of the microorganisms he observed under his own microscope. But he is not popular. See, later on, Jan Swammerdam is the scientist. In the year 1637 he was born and expired in the year 1680. See, he was also observed the microorganisms under the microscope. Excuse me. But he also didn't become popular. But if you observe Anton van Leuwenhoek is the scientist were recorded in our books as he was observed the microorganisms for the first time. He observed the microorganisms for the first time in his own microscope, that what was made by him. But if you observe, he observed in the year 1674. From the pond water, he observed bacteria, he observed yeast, he observed protozoa, he observed all those microorganisms. In our textbooks, they have mentioned that in the year 1674 he observed. But before of him, Robert Hooke is the scientist, was born in the year 1632 and expired in the year 1723. He observed the microorganisms in his he observed the cell for the first time in the year 1665. If you observe here, he observed the microorganisms in the year 1674 and he observed in the year 1665. But before of him only he observed. But he didn't observe the microorganisms. He observed the cell. He observed the cell for the first time in his own microscope. That's the reason he was not regarded as the first person who observed the microorganisms in his own microscope. But if you observe this Athanasius Kircher, Jan Swammerdam, these scientists worked upon this. But while coming to the Anton van Leuwenhoek is the scientist first regarded as the person who observed the microorganism on their own microscope. Actually, compound microscope are there, different kinds of the microscopes are there. See, in his own microscope, the person Anton van Leuwenhoek observed the microorganisms for the first time. Okay, here Robert Hooke is the scientist who observed the cell for the first time in his own microscope. I told you that the cells are differentiated into two types. They are unicellular organisms as well as the multicellular organisms. Depends on the number of cells present in the body. Understand? See, most of the unicellular organisms are microscopic. If the scientists not known the microbial world, we might don't know about the unicellular organisms lifestyle also. Yes, see, the multicellular organisms are having many number of cells in their body. As I have already told you, cells develops into tissues, tissues develops into organs, Organs develops into organ system develops into organism. Here Athanasius Kircher, Jan Swammerdam, Antony van Leeuwenhoek and the Robert Hooke are the scientists who observed the microbial world for the first time in their own microscopes. Okay, but Robert Hooke recorded as a scientist who observed the cell for the first time in his own microscope. Antony van Leeuwenhoek is a scientist recorded as the person who observed microorganisms like bacteria, protozoa, next yeast and under his own microscope. Next, Athanasius Kircher is also observed. Here, Jan Swammerdam, he is Netherlands. He belongs to the Netherlands and he also observed in his own microscope. But famous personality, they didn't become famous. That's why we also not known up to now who observed microorganisms for the first time on their own microscopes. We also not even known till now, but we know about the microbial world very clearly. Thank you. We'll meet in the next class and we'll learn about different kinds of the things. If you're not subscribed to my channel yet, please do subscribe, like, share, comment. Thank you.